Hey everybody, how you doing? I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from the Black Business School. I wanted to tell you about something tonight that's going to happen. I know this is kind of short notice, but we just kind of decided recently we are going to do this. Damon Dash and I are actually going to have a public webinar where we're actually going to do some serious, detailed conversation about what it would take to build a Black Hollywood. That's pretty much the premise of the whole conversation because what happened was Damon and I were talking. We were kind of talking about just everything that happened last week. You know, you had Jada Pinkett Smith speak up about what was going on as far as the Oscars and not having diversity and how she was going to stay home, and then and then you had Stacey Dash kind of fire back saying, that there's no racism here. Also, it's racist to have things like a Black Entertainment Television or a Black History Month. Now, you know me, I'm not a big fan of BET. I don't hate BET the way I don't have as many issues with them as I used to. I will say that they seem to have tried to improve certain things, but the Hip Hop Awards still could use some work. But as far as their general programming, I think they're not as horrible as they used to be. But remember, though, BET is not a Black-owned company, too. So this idea of that, BET kind of represents Blackness, I think is something we got to think about. We got to understand, we got to come to some sort of definitive conclusion of sort of what it means to serve the Black community as opposed to sell the Black community. We talked about that in another video. Now, the interesting kind of fallout from this and backlash, or what it kind of happened afterward, is I started hearing conversations. I started hearing from people who were insiders in Hollywood. I started hearing from people who pretty much told me, based on what deals they've been involved with major stars, that one of the reasons Black Hollywood does not exist is because Black Hollywood actors don't really support each other. They don't really work together very often. It's kind of every man for himself, every woman for himself, and certainly the needs of the Black community are kind of put on the back burner. I guess maybe because they're trying so hard to succeed, they're not thinking about the collective. Well, one of the things that Damon and I kind of see eye to eye on is the importance of thinking about the collective. He's got a movie coming out very soon, Too Honorable, that he actually spent over $1 million of his own money making, and it wasn't like he just was able to flip the money out there. It's hard work to come up with that kind of money, based on what the way he described it to me. On our end, we're actually releasing Resurrecting Black Wall Street, the Blueprint, which was our effort to study the Black Wall Street massacre from a different angle and say, what's the blueprint here? What can we learn here in order to build a stronger, better future? So we've got our film coming out, and that's our tiny little Black Hollywood. Now we might not make $100 million on the film, but we can get a couple 100,000 people to watch it, which is pretty significant to us. It means a lot to us. And so what happens is you kind of figure out ways to kind of bootstrap your way to success. You find ways to cut some corners where necessary, to build your audience, and by any means necessary, to do whatever you got to do. And the thing is, you realize that when you do stuff without the help of white folks, it means you're probably not going to have the resources that you might have had before. But you can still get it done. Remember the pioneers who built any empire throughout the world, not just the U.S. and other countries, but the pioneers always have to kind of declare their independence and sovereignty and kind of build with whatever they've got. When the Mormons started Salt Lake City, they didn't have anything. There was nobody out there in Salt Lake City, literally, except the Native Americans, of course, which is a whole nother conversation. But there wasn't anybody out there really to help them, and they just kind of built with what they had, and you build on top of one thing on top of the other, and before you know it, 50, 100 years later, you've got this massive empire. So the same thing is true for the Black community. We've got to stop being more proud of a paycheck than we are about what we own. Wealth building is always more valuable to you and your family than income building, right? So you get an income because you rent yourself out to a corporation that doesn't give you anything to pass to your kids, and you're very proud of that job, but you don't learn the ability to create your own job, because if you create your own job, you own that job, you can pass that to a child. A corporate job, you can't do that. So so if you want to know, it's like, because sometimes people ask me, how did you and Damon Dash end up working together? And I said, because actually we have different approaches, we have different ways of describing things, but we always end up kind of hitting the same space. We both we're sick of black people begging. We're sick of being emasculated, disrespected, kind of thrown under the bus, kind of laughed at, ridiculed by everybody else. There's certain there's a lot that I'm not in any of this game to kiss asses. I don't do that. And Damon and I, we agree on that. So that's kind of why we work together and why we teach our class at intelligentbossmoves.com, because we're kind of like, we need an injection of manhood into our community. And once, just pride in who you are, which means even if I'm broke, I'm proud of the fact that I'm not out here begging and whoring myself in order to get a dollar. And that's the thing. That kind of pride doesn't really exist with Black Hollywood. A lot of those people will play any role, play any kind of coon, do any kind of buffoonery in order to make a dollar, in order to be famous, in order to be validated, in order to get an Oscar. That's why most of the time when black people get Oscars, it's because they play some sort of stereotypical role. So Damon and I tonight, actually Sunday night, today's Sunday the 24th, at 8 p.m. Eastern, we're going to have a webinar tonight. And we're going to actually talk about all these issues. And the link to the webinar is below. You can find out more about it also at theblackbusinessschool.com. But I'm going to put the link right there in the description of this video so you can go check it out. It's not free. It's not free, but the price is very, very low. I guarantee you this. You won't get this kind of conversation information at any business school in the country. And business schools are going to charge you thousands of dollars. I think the price of this webinar is $29. That's how we keep our businesses going. That's how we feed our families. That's how we take care of our people without having to go beg the white man for his money. So if you want to know why we charge for things, that's one of the reasons why. Black people are not a charity case. We're not people who only learn when it's free. We should be people who are willing to make an investment in ourselves, because if you're not willing to invest in yourself, then what makes you think anybody else should be willing to invest in you? So that's really it. So you don't have to come out. It's okay if you don't feel comfortable. If $29 is too much, then that's fine. But if you hang out with us, feel free, and we'll answer as many questions as possible. And the conversation is going to be real, authentic, and powerful, and it's going to be something unlike anything that you'll see anywhere else. I guarantee you that much. So anyway, take care, guys, and it's good talking to you. Have a wonderful day. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.